At any rate, good morning, and it is the 19th of April, 2016. We're advancing toward a full moon coming up here on the 22nd, very early in the morning for those of us in the Midwest. And start off our discussion here today with a little thought by one of my favorite Native American philosophers and mystics. The growing and the dying of the moon reminds us of our ignorance, which comes and goes. But when the moon is full, it is as if the Great Spirit is upon the whole world. And that was Black Elk. I always thought that was a beautiful envisioning of the spirit of the full moon and the spirit of the universe itself. It's when you're out there on a warm evening with that full moon bathing you in light and illuminating the environment around you, can be a glorious thing. This coming full moon may not be quite as bright as that. I think this is the smallest full moon of this current year, simply because the distance will be a little bit further away from the Earth than previous full moons, and especially the supermoons. So what's going on? Well, yada, yada, yada. Lots of stuff, actually, but let's take a look at, the general overall update to begin with. We've got the sun at its last degree in Aries today. So as of tomorrow, we will be at 30 degrees Aries or 0 degrees Taurus. So it's that midpoint that's stepping off into the next sign. And we're going from a fiery sign that gave us the unexpected, because Uranus is residing in Aries currently. So that Uranian vibe was definitely spiked with the passage of the sun through the house of Aries. And now things should kind of get more grounded as the sun moves into Taurus. So we all know that a full moon will always fall in the opposite side of the sun. And so this coming full moon is going to be in the very early degrees of Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about digging things up and bringing things forth, going into the underworld, a very Plutonian kind of vibe coming into play with this full moon. So we may be observing a number of surprises that come out, both politically as well as personally, because all of this is happening to you, and you have to look at that in broader view. The entire cosmos is you, and once you start to really observe that within yourself, then you start to be able to adjust yourself to accommodate all the ebb and flow that life presents to us. So as the sun is starting to enter Taurus, what is going on with the Earth? Everybody in the astrology community talks about the sun and the moon and Mercury and Pluto and yada, 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 but very rarely do they talk about the Earth. And in order to find out what's going on with Mother Earth, with Gaia, we have to step back and look at the other side of the chart. So if the sun is at, let's say, 1 degree of Taurus, the Earth is exactly on the other side at 1 degree of Scorpio. And this is the energy that we are gaining our perspective from. So when you're thinking of, the sun in Taurus, it's all about the Earth, and all of these earthy energies, well, that's what's flowing into us. That's what the sun, which is the activator, which is the energizer, is pulling from the heavens. It is pulling that Taurian energy into the Earth. And the Earth is where? Well, the Earth will be in Scorpio. So what's really going on is that the actual effect is going to bring some kind of manifestation into that realm of the Scorpio energy. So we also have to be willing to look at that and conscious of the fact that the Earth is always opposite the sun whenever we're looking at charts, whenever we're contemplating what's going on in the heavens. So that's the first part of all this. And then, of course, when the moon is full, the moon is opposite the sun, which means that the moon will be in Scorpio. So we have the moon technically conjunct the Earth. The moon's got all of this emotion. The moon's got all these deeper feelings. The moon is very watery. The moon is the ruler of Cancer. So all of our watery, emotional, subterranean, subconscious energy is kind of sloshing around with this advance of the Earth in Scorpio and the energizing aspect of the sun, pulling it from Taurus down into our experience on this little mud ball. And it'll probably be a mud ball with all of that watery, earthy energy getting sloshed around. So I would anticipate with this full moon that a lot of revelations will be coming up. I think you're going to be looking at things that you have avoided and have to stop and address these things. So this could be a very powerful full moon cycle for a lot of people, because it is bringing grounding. It is bringing that earthy energy into our emotional landscape. So be on the lookout for opportunities to find surprises about yourself that could be very revealing, very, very revealing. And going on with some of the other things that are happening here, we have got Mars, Saturn, Pluto, all moving backwards, retrograde, and Mercury's getting ready at the end of the week or the beginning of next week to start its backward advance. So what is retrogrades all about? I hear all these people talking about retrogrades, and really we have to take this idea and kind of dissect it, take it apart and look at it from various different angles. A retrograde, number one, is an illusion, because the actual planet doesn't stop and then start moving backwards in the heavens. So that's the first thing we have to process, is the fact that during a retrograde cycle, we are going to be encountering illusions. And then we have to really think about our fear factor. That acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. And we have our fears frequently that come up that we have to confront during these periods when different planets are in retrograde motion. Because in actual fact, the planet is continuing to advance. It's not going to stop and dilly-dally and mess up the laws of physics and all that sort of thing. So we don't really have to lose our mind about retrogrades, but we do have to perhaps spend a little extra time thinking about, what do I believe, and is it based on reality? Or am I entertaining my fears? So this drawing back energy that the retrograde would imply, when a planet is not retrograde, it's advancing, it's moving forward, it's going boom, 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 as it makes its journey around the sun. But when we have a retrograde, it appears that it is pulling back. What does that mean? That means instead of constantly advancing, instead of pushing your way through the briar patch. It's time to look within yourself to identify those elements that are going on in your consciousness that are illusory in nature. So whenever a planet is going retrograde and you're looking at it in your chart, you always want to apply that position to the house that it's appearing in. Like if it's in the second house, then, you know, you want to look at your value system. What is it that you place value on in this life? And is it an illusion? If you value being rich and having a huge pile of money, well, guess what? Someday you're going to croak. And other than building a monument to your ego, that money really isn't going to do much for you. And so retrograde periods are really levelers. They are opportunities that the universe is presenting to us to become more contemplative and reflective. And as a process that allows us to step out of our limitations. So with all these retrogrades, let's take a look at what some of the themes are that are going on here. And the first one, of course, is Saturn, because it's been waddling backwards for a while now. And Saturn in Sagittarius would give us that imagery around the idea of the part of ourself that is the adventurer, that is a seeker of truth, and that is restless and wants to go to places, wants to discover things, wants to know about culture, wants to know about life experience. And Saturn is the teacher. So if we've got the teacher going backwards, maybe, perhaps, we personally need to look observance of life outwardly, when in actual fact we should be looking for our own inner wisdom, for our own inner teacher, for our own inner adventurer. And so during this period when Saturn's making this backward motion, it's time for us to look at what it is that we have as far as our agenda for our own education, for our own knowingness, and for our own awareness. In addition to that, we've got Mars going backwards, and Mars, of course, is the second energizer in the planetary system. The sun is the life force energy, but Mars is the take action energy. Mars has got his little spear, and he's going to go and conquer the evildoers all over the world. And so that Martian energy, when it starts to go backwards, you really want to look at what it is that motivates you, that inspires you. And again, ask yourself, am I on a crusade that is completely pointless? What am I gaining from where I am placing my efforts? Or where am I in this journey as far as making forward motion and advancing with all of the different interests I have in life? And then good old Pluto, the generational planet, one of the generational planets, it's just starting to make its backward motion now in Capricorn. And again, you know, Capricorn being that 10th house, that top of the heavens in our charts. Well, we as a collective need to review where we want to ultimately end up. What it is that we are as a group, as a community, as a family. What is it that we are aspiring to? And is it something that has value for all of us? Are we being inclusive? So Pluto is going to cause us once again to address our sense of values and perhaps become a little bit more compassionate about the people in our lives and the people on the other side of the world. So that gives you kind of a little bit of an idea as to how these retrogrades are working. And of course, you undoubtedly, as you think about these things, you will have those insights that pop up. And so you'll have your own understanding. You'll have your own awareness. But this is just kind of a gesture in the right direction. I won't even say it's a roadmap. But nonetheless, we've got some, exciting and dynamic things going on in the heavens, but we always do. I mean, there's always this magical dance. But where we need to place our attention right now is that energy of the sun starting to pull in the earth energy, that energy of the moon in good old intensely watery Scorpio. What is it that we need to emotionally connect with and perhaps purge? Mercury is still kind of advancing, but getting ready to start backing up. And Mercury is somewhat happily placed in the mid part of Taurus. So once again, our value systems, Taurus as a second house. What is it that we place value on? Well, Mercury is the communicator. So Mercury is wanting us to talk about this to other people, to ourselves. That's really how we learn about what our hidden agendas are and what our values are based on. So we got Mercury in Taurus. Very happy place for Mercury. It likes that earthy groundedness. It is an air sign planet, but it likes to feel the substance beneath it every once in a while. Jupiter is currently in Virgo, so that Jupiterian energy is going to be feeding into the activity of the moon, and it'll be feeding into the activity of the sun in Taurus. So we're going to get a kind of a beginning of an expansion energy coming up here. And as things continue to advance, we're going to see new openings, new opportunities. Earthy energy is always good for getting things done, resolving conflicts, getting past limitations, getting things planted so that you can actually see growth in your life. So the heavens are really working on your behalf in a very, very good way for the next 8 to 10 days here. A lot of revelations, a lot of surprises coming up as we're moving through this period of political turmoil and social unrest. But out of all this churning and burning, we're going to ultimately end up with a more unified society and a more unified and compassionate way of approaching each other on this little marble that's floating around the sun, doing its own thing. So that's your update for the coming full moon. Get out there and share the love, pass the love around, have fun with life, and go dance in the moonlight, because the Scorpio moon is going to have some interesting stories to tell us. And I think we'll have interesting stories to tell each other over the next 10 days. And I'll be chatting with you soon.
When they yo, no one, no, no.